if you're in search marketing and you're scared of what AI is doing to this industry, this might be one of the most important videos you can watch right now. So I'm coming with not just my opinion, but we've actually got the data. So salaryguide.com went and we researched, I think it was 1,500 search jobs. And yeah, we've actually got concrete data on, what's standing out, what are kind of things that are just completely wrong that a lot of people are talking about in the industry. What's quite cool is Moz actually did a piece taking our data from Salary Guide with some expert commentary from myself and a senior recruiter at Search for Hire, my company, basically on what we're seeing a lot of companies and clients coming to us, what they're hiring for, what they're actually looking for when they're asking about AI, what are the biggest pain points. And again, Kevin Indig, who has Growth Memo, I think it got sent out to like 50,000 people, got syndicated on Search Engine Land. He also did the exact same piece. So he did, took our data and did a very, very similar piece just with his side on it as well. So as you can see, really hot topic. So I'm just gonna break down everything that we're seeing from our client pain points and basically to give you the artillery to reverse engineer this and to stand out in today's market. Okay, so what did we do? Let's start off with it. We had 1,500 SEO jobs that we got from salaryguide.com. Again, first myth I'm going to do on this is 2.6% had prompt engineering in it. I was just at an event in Barcelona, and again, a lot of people were talking about prompt engineering. Not that important, as you can see, 2.6%. So what is really important? So when we're scoring we've got a vetting process, and what that kind of fits into is we've got two things that weight the scores against everything. So we have a behavior fit engine, and this accounts for 60% of the weighting of the score. So what does that include? This includes value articulation, which is super important, which again is, how much can the value that you're doing and the work that you're doing, how can you show that to a stakeholder, another team, your line manager, whatever it is. Great story on this is we signed quite a big law agency from the US 2 weeks ago, and they had 4 account managers. One of them they loved. They said that, it was a great culture fit. They said they loved what he did. He was great at his campaigns, but he wasn't able to, he would just get himself in trouble all the time with the clients. And he would basically not be able to show the work that he was doing was valuable. So they had to let him go, and we're now hiring for that person. But again, it just shows you how important value articulation is, which again, probably sounds obvious to you. The next one was ownership and reliability. I'd put this down as one of the most important ones. This is one that internally for me, when I'm hiring, this is something that I find so important. I want people that can just own things, take reliability, if they were wrong, if they, whatever it is. I'd like to think if any of my team are watching this, they know that if they make a mistake, it's cool, as long as they don't do it again. So I'm big solution orientated. If somebody's got a problem, come to me with 3 solutions already, rather than just showing me the problem. And even better, I love people that just don't have to show me the 3 solutions. They just know how to own it, and they know exactly what to do. So that's a massive one for me. The next one was commercial. Oh my goodness, sorry. Commercial awareness. So again, how much can you tie what you're doing to business outcomes? I feel like when we started doing this, when I started the company 5 years ago, this was just equally as important as it was there. I don't think this is a test of time. I don't think it will ever go out of importance. We've got a SEO that works for me at Search for Hire called Harrison, and he is, the reason I love him so much, and I tell him all the time, is because he has such good commercial awareness. And I think the big reason on that was he worked at a big agency before, where he had a lot of experience working with a plethora of clients, from massive brands to smaller brands to startups, etc. So he really got to know each one of those and each one of those clients. And with that, he's not like, he's a young guy. He just went freelance a few months ago. And he's only been working with us for maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 months. But my favorite thing is that, I'll see, I watch a lot of stuff about like AI and LLMs and stuff, and I'll see all these little quick wins, and he's kind of my soundboard. I'll send it to him and be like, oh, should we incorporate this? And again, he's always like, just let's slow down. Does it fit to the outcomes that we actually want? Is there any proof that this has got results? Which unfortunately, a lot of the times it's not, but it looks cool, and I get excited very easily. So those three things are very, very important. So they're, kind of how we do the behavioral fit engine. Another one on that, by the way, is curiosity, which to me is one of the biggest things when it comes to AI right now. How curious are you? Are you staying up? It doesn't have to be staying up at late at night, but how much you actually looking into that. Curiosity. So we've got a whole section on this when we're vetting search marketers. How curious are you? Just diving back into the behavior fit engine. One thing that I think is really, really cool to talk about is we signed a client last week who is the biggest AI search company in the UK. I'm not going to name any names, but I reckon you know who it is. When we sign a client, we then do an onboarding call and we go over our outcome focused scorecard. So, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to actually get outcomes that we're able to measure against success. So we can actually build an onboarding 90-day success roadmap for them as well when we're successful and we place the candidate. But the biggest reason we do this is that we can actually, do a custom unique vetting process for each client, because each client has different pain points, they, different measurements, etc. So really, really important on that. But the reason I'm bringing this up, I'll share this on the screen, but the reason I bring this up is one question that we asked was, what is a core value of your company that is often tested? How would a B player fail that test? The answer they gave was ownership over delegation. A B player would identify a gap but write a brief for someone else to solve it. An A player identifies the gap, builds the solution and presents it, then asks for feedback, which again goes back into the ownership and reliability that I mentioned on the behavior fit engine. The second one was intellectual honesty. So a B player would present a recommendation they're not fully confident in rather than admit uncertainty. An A player says, I don't know yet, and comes back with research. Super, super important. Third one was pace with precision. A B player conflates speed with cutting corners. An A player moves fast and still delivers work that can go in front of a FTSE 100 CMO. So again, hopefully that doesn't give away who this is, but that's what somebody that's at the top of their game is looking for, in terms of culture. And the reason that I'm talking about this and showing you this is you'll be able to take this and reverse engineer, for the next 6 months, go and learn how to do this, go test those skills. The other thing we do is obviously we go over red flags, and that might sound obvious, but way too many times I've seen people go on interviews, they haven't wrote down their concrete red flags that as soon as they say this, we avoid this at all costs. And they'll be on an interview and they'll talk to somebody that they either really like, or they'll just say something that they really like and they'll kind of forget what their red flags are. So it's really important to actually write them down. One of them, the red flags that they wrote down were 3. So the first one was strategy only mindset. So talks exclusively about high-level frameworks, but can't demonstrate recent hands-on execution. This role requires craft, not just oversight. The other one was traditional SEO tunnel vision. So they define success purely in terms of rankings, traffic, and backlinks, with no genuine curiosity or point of view on AI-driven search, LLMs, or how discovery is evolving. And then the last one was passivity or over-reliance on process. So they wait for briefs, they ask for playbooks, they need constant direction. This is an early stage team. The right person creates structure. They don't depend on it. And again, just to show this is a 6-figure role in the UK, and they're actually offering equity with the role as well. So again, this is what somebody at the top of the game is looking for. So I thought that was super, super important to touch on. So the next bit that we do, so that's 60% is the behavior fit engine. The other 40% is the tech and domain By the way, this is one of the first times I've written on my iPad, so I apologize of what that was trying to be an and symbol. I think it's just changed it to an at symbol. But so that is the tech and domain. So that's the real strategy side of it. So whether that's the SEO side, whether it's you do paid media, whatever it is, it's your hardcore, your skill. That's what that is. It's the being AI native, which is funny because I actually think AI native comes into, I think these two play like really massive part into it, especially passion as well. But AI native, what we want to do here is you cannot answer with I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I do whatever. You need to show real life cases. You need to light up when somebody asks you, if they ask a question on, tell me a time or tell me how AI has improved the way that you've worked since the last 18 months or whatever. If you can't have a whole list of things in there, then yeah, this person's going to be on to the next one. One story that I think is really, really interesting is I have a good friend of mine who is a very skilled search marketer, very, very good with AI as well. So he was looking at 200K salary. He, actually an old client of ours, who's very well known in the space, very big on AI, putting up YouTube videos all the time. He's got a ABM software. My friend ethically hacked into it. So he hacked into it and then sent a message. I don't know if it was on email, LinkedIn, or Twitter, or whatever it was, and basically showed, this is how I did it. I'm inside. This is what I would do to stop me getting inside. And with that, he landed a interview with this founder, and he didn't actually end up getting a job for it because he wanted a 200K salary, and the other guy offered him, I can't remember what it was. It was close enough, but it wasn't what he wanted. So, but anyway, idea on that is you can use AI to actually get ahead and actually get interviews as well, which I'm not saying everybody has to go out and hack into a software, but again, it's just food for thought. So another thing that I'd love to talk about on this is we had a discovery call last week. We haven't signed them as a client yet. I am confident we will, but they were, again, a big AI search company. And what they mentioned, so in my HubSpot booking link, when I said, like, what do you want to get out of this call? Or is there anything else I should know about this? They give me this whole paragraph, and I'll put it up on the screen. You can maybe pause it and go through it. But the biggest thing from that I find so interesting is that SEO knowledge is not the constraint. Pace, ownership, and reliability are. TLDR, culture fit is our biggest challenge. And again, what that actually says to me is AI tools, everything that you think is like the most important thing out there. It just comes back to the basics. It comes back to, can you move at pace? Can you own what you do? And are you reliable? Is the three things that they really, really wanted. So again, they're the things we need to go through, either training or whatever way it is to do this. Maybe it's just writing them all down, and then from now on, this is the things that I'm going to really go into. So the other thing that I thought was super interesting, so out of the 1,500 SEO jobs that we took from salaryguide.com, what was really interesting in all of that, there was 79% said measurement. And again, might sound super simple to a lot of people, but are you able to measure the work that you're doing? So it's one of the strongest signals in the whole data set. And it just comes back to, especially with AI, it's really hard to measure revenue with AI. So, it's more about like efficiencies and whatever. But if we step away from AI, it's to like your actual work. I've been to so many events recently in the last 2 years. In fact, there was a event that I was at in London last summer that I was hosting. So I was hosting the panel, and we had some of the smartest search marketers in the room there for like these massive corporations. And what was so interesting was, every single question that people were trying to get, like the really important, like little things. And it just came back to the measurement of revenue. That was like the biggest thing that everybody was saying. If you cannot measure revenue with it, stop building it. The people don't want to know. The stakeholders don't want to know. And they're probably the ones that are funding the SEO team. So what does all of this mean? So what we need to do now is we need to build a proof case. So we actually do this over at salaryguide.com. So I think there's a free trial on that. But if you go in, we actually build like your whole win and your value grid on that. But what this does is we want to take that 60% of the behavioral fit engine that we mentioned. We want to be able to put that into actual proof. So you can show, if that's an employer or if it's a salary promotion or whatever it is, performance review, you're able to go in and you're able to show them, what you've actually done. So what you want to do is you want to log every measurable outcome. And you want to tie that. Yes, you want to do every single outcome that you've driven across your career. And that will then turn into your value grid. And I've actually got a good friend of mine who I sat down and did this with him. And we basically built with AI, you can build a website, in a few minutes. And we went and sat down, built out all the outcomes that he's measured over his past decade of working, all the actual wins that he's led in terms of business outcomes. We focused on the 60% of that, the behavioral fit engine. And what we did is we just created it into a website. And it was this beautifully laid out like portfolio website, which is, super, super easy way to stand out in front of all those AI mass applications of CVs and cover letters. That's a really, really good way to actually stand out. And again, just to make sure on this bit, we want to make sure that we can measure. So instead of things like we increased, organic by X amount, we want to talk about we increased organic by, let's say, 38%, which then led to X amount of signups or X amount of more users or X amount more purchases, whatever it is. It needs to be articulated in actual measurement. So you need to be able to do that. So here's why everything that we've just said matters. So out of those 1,500 SEO jobs, I feel like I know these numbers off the back of my hand now. The 1,500 SEO jobs, 54% had AI in JD. So, as a requirement, you have to have AI in it. So 54% had AI in the job description. So only 11% had AI in the title. Now, again, we've done the research. We understand why. So the reason that there's 54% has AI in the job description and 11% only have AI in the job description is because on average, 25% to 33% salary increase in the ones that have AI in the job title. So companies know that if they put AI in the title, they're going to have to pay a 25 to 33% salary premium. So this, you can get like, why are companies not putting AI in the job title? To me, this is so exciting. This shows that, if you get really, really good at this, right, which like everybody should be, that should be everybody's goal, they can get that. And again, what we actually found is that our highest salary was 431K for a AI SEO title. And again, for my UK audience, that is roughly about 400K, which is absolutely wild for a search role. So to me, that's really, really important. The next 12 months, the ones that win aren't the ones that just know how to use AI. They're the ones that are able to put everything that we just said into value and actually build on it. So the three things that you need to do is you need to build your wins profile and build out that value grid. You need to show what you can actually measure, not what you did. And then you want to stop using tools and actually start building with them. So that's the video today. What I'll do is Chima from Moz did a beautiful article using Salary Guides data and a few commentary bits from myself and Darius, one of my senior recruiters. And she basically said how you can stand out in the day of AI. It was a fantastic article. I'll link that down below. And And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this, there's a different format that I've done with the whiteboard. So I do apologize if it was kind of all over the place or I messed up on a bit of spelling. But if you did like this, please hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one.